All right, in this lesson, we are going to make a nav bar. So you'll get to learn what a nav bar is, and we're going to put buttons on there. And the buttons aren't going to do anything. They're just going to be there for looks for now, but we'll learn later how to attach those buttons. So we'll need JavaScript for that. We haven't learned that yet, so we're just going to move our JavaScript over. And you've got your HTML and your CSS here. So this is going to be a small page. Put our HTML in, put our body, and let's go ahead and make a div with an ID of container. So I'm going to do a hashtag container. That's going to be the shortcut to make us an ID. All right, so inside of our container, we're going to put a header. And we're going to put two pieces of content in here, an H1, which would be our logo. All right, and then we're going to put a nav. And so basically what we're going to say here for our header, this is going to be really important because we're going to use a layout tool called flexbox. This header has two children. And the two children are the elements that are directly below that header element. So this H1 is a child of header, and this nav that we're going to make is a child of header. Header is a child of this container div. So that's how that works. So let's go ahead and make an unordered list. And inside of this unordered list, we'll do three list items: about, contact, and home. And we're going to use flexbox on this unordered list as well. So I'm going to put an ID on here equal to nav dash options. So you can see it's starting to come together already down here. And that is it for our header. So now just to give us some space here, so you can see a little bit better, I'm going to put the main section of our application in here, and we'll do an H2. And this is just a placeholder for stuff we can add later, and a paragraph. And so that's just a placeholder there. So we're almost making our first full page, even though it's just kind of some dummy data. This is really going to be fun for a model later that you can use to design your own full page, which is pretty awesome already. So there's our footer that's going to go in next. We've got a copyright. And we'll add another unordered list here. Let's say this would be our social media. And this is just a placeholder for now. And we could add our icons in later. And that's our whole page. And so what's really important for us to look at here is, it doesn't look like much right now, but that's what our CSS is going to be for. But notice what we call the semantic markup here, and that is the way this is labeled. So we can see by our tags that this is our header, and our nav bar within our header, which is where we're really going to focus. And we have the main content of our page, and we have the footer. So these are always going to basically be the three sections of a page when you make a HTML document, right? There's our header, main, and footer. Now we need to control the layout of this so that it looks a lot better. All right, we're going to do that with our CSS. So if we use an ID, which we did here with our container, this is a hashtag. Remember, a class is a dot, and a hashtag represents an ID. Let's put a background color in here. There we go. I had a little typo going there. All right, let's do a margin 2 rem auto. The 2 rem is going to be the top bottom, and then the auto will be our left right, and it depends on the width. Let's make 1,000 pixels. And there's our page. So the 2 rems is, you can see this top space, and then the 1,000 pixels is on the left and the right, where it controls what you see on the left and the right. And that depends on how wide your monitor is. So we could do a percentage-based width here, 80%. And this is really cool because now if your viewport shrinks, that stays always in response to your viewport. You see that? Because it's always going to take up 80% of the parent, which is the container. So I kind of like that for flexibility. Okay, our header. This is where we're going to use something called flexbox. Flexbox will take our content and align it in a row. So watch what happens when I hit display flex. Okay, it pops my logo, my H1, and my unordered list or my nav right beside each other. All right, again, if I take this off of here by doing a command or a control / comment that out, notice they're on top of each other. Control Z will put that back, and you can see that they're now beside each other. So Flexbox has some properties here. Space between, and that aligns them on both sides of the header for us, which is really nice. Right, now I don't like my H1 being over there on the left side of the screen, so I'm going to do a margin left of 1 rem. And that's going to pop that over. And we'll do a nav margin on the right of 1 rem, and that's going to pop that over here on the right hand side because this is the nav that we're looking at here. So this nav is now over here. All right, this is where we're going to do another alignment here inside of nav options. That's an ID, hashtag. And we're going to display flex on it and watch it line everything up in a row. Bam, there it goes in a row. Now we need to do some styling on it on the individual list items. So each one of these here needs some styling. We're going to make them buttons. So we can say inside of nav options, let's style the LI or the list item. Put a border radius of 8 pixels on there. Border style of solid. Border width, 2 pixels. You can see it's starting to come together. This style type is fantastic. It's going to remove those annoying circles or those discs that come with list items. I'm going to say none on there. Margin left, just to space these out a little bit from each other. And padding. And there's a little bit of padding on there. So now those are starting to look a little bit more like buttons. There you go. So now let's have some fun with this and what happens when we hover over those buttons. So we do a list item hover property and we can change the background color. And let's make it black. And the color, this is for the font that's on the text. We'll do white. Okay, so this is for the text font on the buttons. I'm going to make a comment here for you so you know what this is. You can highlight that, control /. Oh, no, can't do that. put it over the top. All right, so I can highlight that, Control / and that'll comment it out. Let's say the code below. All right, so this is just so you understand what this color is going to be for. And let's put a transition on. Well, let me show you what this is going to do first. So look at that. It gives you that color. Now that's kind of happening fast. So let's put a transition on there. Of a half of a second. And this will be really nice. It gives you that nice little fade in and fade out when you're going over your buttons. So that looks pretty cool. All right, all that's really left is our footer. And I want you to see if you can pause the video and try the footer and align the items in the footer like we did in the header. So use Flex to do that. See if you can get it working. All right, so we're going to display Flex and do the same property there, justify content, space between. And you don't have to understand what all this means. You can always keep practicing and using it. And these are going to be some small tools that you'll use over and over again. Align items. This will center things on the y-axis vertically. So what happens is this now pops into the same level in between these, with the space that it takes up. And we can show you how much space this takes up with the background color, just so you can see maybe a gray there, so you can see where that is on the screen. So that's our page, and we can line these up as well. So that's our unordered list. Display Flex on it, and line those up, and then let's get rid of the discs, list style, type none, and then let's give us some space. And just a little bit of spacing there so you can see those. And that's basically our page. And let's see if I can get all of the code on the screen here for your reference. Not quite. I'll be able to scroll. There's all the HTML. And here's the styling. A lot more advanced styling here because we're doing a layout and we're doing the way it looks. So where is it? Where are the pieces on the page as well as what they're styled like. So there's a lot going on here with the introduction of flexbox. And there's the bottom half of the CSS code.